Part 75 of Patrick Allvin's never-ending mission to acquire all the Pittsburgh Penguins available on the market. The Vancouver Canucks have announced today that they have acquired Mark Friedman, Elliot Friedman's just protege in every respect of the word, and forward Ty Glover from the Penguins in exchange for Jack Rathbone and Karol Plik. Now, this is a move that I think everybody is going to look at and notice the one name right off the bat. Jack Rathbone is no longer a Vancouver Canuck, and this, honestly, is pretty heartbreaking, to be honest. Like, the guy's 24 years old, so it's not like he is the youngest guy in the world anymore. But he did not make the Vancouver Canucks this season. He is in Abbotsford, had 2 games played, 1 goal, was not good enough to make the regular team. You could debate he's better than Noah Juulsen, but just with the way this decor is shaping up, with guys like Carson Soucy still in the mix, but he's injured, and a bunch of other guys too, you can understand that for Rathbone, his time and place with the Vancouver Canucks was unfortunately not earned in 23-24. But this was a guy who was really good in the NCAA, he was really good in the AHL, 40 points, 39 games played in 21-22, declined significantly last season in terms of point production, but he was slowed down a ton by injuries. This is not a guy who has just been down in the dumps because of his poor play. He has had the unfortunate circumstance of being slowed down repeatedly over the years. And when he was an NCAA guy, tearing over the what is it called? The Ivy League? That's what it is? Yeah, that's where Harvard plays, excuse me. Tearing open the Ivy League with point production, he was seen as this really good top prospect in the Vancouver Canucks system that was initially a 4th-round guy back in 2017. But for Rathbone, he was not able to make the squad this year. He got sent over for a change of scenery. This is what Rick Dalibor says. Both sides understood in the summer that if Rathbone did not make the Canucks, it was time to move him. He needed a fresh start, and he got it. Heading over to Pittsburgh, this is a guy who could maybe exhibit some sort of a Ty Smith type of situation here. He has a lot of potential, he is good at offense, he can shoot, he's got a really good shot, but aside from that, he just wasn't ready to make the main Vancouver Canucks squad, or at least prove that he was better than one of the Soucys or the Ian Coles, one of the newer additions that made the team in general. As for the guys the Vancouver Canucks are getting, Mark Friedman is a really interesting pickup. He's actually a guy I like a lot. You can see my boy Sap went out there and tweeted the JFresh card underneath the Canucks press release. 97 percentile wins above replacement metric from last year. Friedman is a blank disturber in every sense of the word. This is a guy who at 27 years old, 5'11", right-handed defenseman, is going to stir up the opposition. He mixes it, he gets under the opponent's skin, he's physical, he is not afraid to start a fight, and according to Rick Dalibor, word is that Friedman will join the Canucks at some point on the road trip. The Canucks still have interest in Ethan Bear. So Friedman is a right-handed defenseman coming over to Vancouver that is probably going to be more so of a 7th defenseman type of guy, maybe a 6th defenseman if the Canucks are injured, but Friedman has a really specific skill set, that in which Patrick Allvin and the Vancouver Canucks valued. This guy could be an absolute wrecking ball, and that's going to be a great addition to this team. You also have coming over to Vancouver Ty Glover, an AHL guy from the UK actually. He's born in Britain, so that's awesome to see. 6'3", 201 left-handed center, 23 years old, undrafted prospect who had been signed by the Penguins out of the NCAA. He had 12 points in 49 games played last year. He's an AHL guy. He'll be heading over to Abbotsford. Nice depth to add on to that team. And also going over to Pittsburgh is the final name over here. Karol Plik is a guy whom we've talked about before, but he really hasn't been doing much to the point that he's been noteworthy. He's in the ECHL right now, 23 years old. I'm gonna close that. Sorry, elite prospects. Initially drafted by Vancouver in 2019, 6th-round pick, so an overage draftee, 6 feet 181 left-handed left-wing guy, and he was playing in Czechia. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on in his development because he did play in the AHL for a limited sample, was not great, then went back over to his home country to play last season where he was not amazing, but he was there. I mean, now he's going over to the Wheeling Nailers in the ECHL, so we'll see where exactly Karol Plik and his career goes. But if you cancel out Glover and Plasek, this is pretty much Friedman for Rathbone right here. A swap of two defensemen that could bring value to their AHL teams between Pittsburgh and Vancouver. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this trade here? Vancouver traded away Rathbone, and this is honestly not the most surprising thing in the world. When you consider just how Rathbone's entire career had gone, this was sort of the point where he needed to be an NHL guy, and he just wasn't good enough to crack the team in Vancouver. So hopefully in Pittsburgh, he's got a better opportunity to make himself a mainstay NHL career known for himself. And if he does become that, he becomes maybe the 20, 25, 30-point defenseman in the NHL that we all thought he'd be able to be, then hey, good on the Penguins for giving him that opportunity. Good on Patrik Allvin for allowing Rathbone to exhibit that growth as well. It's just, from what we have right here, it does not appear that that was going to be able to happen in Vancouver. Mark Friedman is a much more valuable piece in that spot when you think about age, because he's 27, Rathbone's 24. There are a lot more prime years in Rathbone's development that are being held back by him not being in the NHL. Meanwhile, Mark Friedman has been a journeyman his entire career, bouncing up and down with Lehigh Valley, with Philadelphia, with Pittsburgh, with Wilkes-Barre Scranton. He's been up and down everywhere, so he's sort of established himself in that role while also being a very nice, blank, disturbing type of player. So Mark Friedman, I'm really interested in seeing how he's going to be able to play. The Canucks have the Philadelphia Flyers later tonight. I've heard from a bunch of Penguins fans that this guy, Mark Friedman, absolutely loves playing the Penguins, or the Flyers, excuse me, because apparently the Flyers hate this guy. So we'll see if Friedman actually gets a spot. I doubt it because the game is in like 3 hours from now, but still, at the end of the day, having a physical presence like this, a guy who could really get under his opponent's skin like Friedman, very particular skill set. I think that's a really good add. Add on the prospects who don't really make too much of the needle move. I mean, Glover and Plasek, we'll see if they actually become anything, but for now this trade is really just Friedman for Rathbone. Also, cue all the Elliot Friedman, Mark Friedman memes, because whenever Mark Friedman gets sent down on waivers, you always see Elliot Friedman making some sort of a joke about it because they have the same last name. It's pretty funny. But at the end of the day, this is the trade. Let me know your thoughts as to where Mark Friedman fits into the lineup. If you're a Penguins fan, what are your thoughts on these two guys? I'm not really expecting too much of a scouting report on Ty Glover, but if you're a Penguins fan, what are your thoughts on Mark Friedman? Jack Rathbone, treat him well. He was a great prospect here in Vancouver, just could not make the team and was held back by injuries. Make sure you give this guy his chance. Karol Plik, I guess, good luck to him too. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.